PNC News First is presented by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank. Pizza Hut, we're taking pizza to where it's never been before. Taco Bell, the only place where you live Moss. Colgate, the #1 brand recommended by dentists. And IT&D.
PNC News First, broadcasting live in high definition from Tumon, Guam, on KEQI and KTGM, and on KPPI on Saipan. Here is your PNC News team.
Hafide and good evening. You're watching PNC News First. We are live from the Broadcast Center at Akanta. I'm Jolene Tovis. Thanks for tuning in. Topping our newscast tonight, are politics getting in the way of war claims being paid out to World War II survivors? Tension is building between Congressman Michael Nicholas's office and the legislative and executive branches, especially with discussion on a local measure that seeks to compensate survivors with adjudicated claims. PNC's Josh Taikenko has more.
Committee of the Whole is called to order.
During Committee of the Whole, lawmakers and members of the executive branch shifted their focus to Bill 181-35, authored by Speaker Tina Munya Barnes. The measure expedites the Guam World War II Loyalty Recognition Act, which authorizes the Foreign Claims Settlement Commission to accept and adjudicate claims and direct the Secretary of the Treasury to make adjudicated claim payments. The bill also creates the 75th Guam Liberation War Claims Fund and authorizes the governor to transfer $7.5 million from FY 2019 General Fund appropriations for the purposes of compensating war claim survivors. The intent is that money will be repaid back to the government of Guam with the passage of Congressman Michael Nicholas's H.R. 1365. But the big looming question was why the congressman or representative was not present. Speaker Barnes says she tried to communicate as late as yesterday to his office, and Vice Speaker Talina Nelson also raised concerns to the governor's chief of staff, Tony Babalta.
I did extend a courtesy call out to him to see if he wanted to be here today, but we did not get a response.
I don't hear Mr. Nicholas's name that we're working closely with Mr. Nicholas in there, and that's my concern.
We're keeping Mr. Nicholas apprised of everything that we're doing.
Absolutely, but are we getting a response?
In response, a livid Nicholas called into the Andrea Pelicani show on News Talk K57 to say he wasn't even invited.
Andrea, I never received a call from the speaker. I never received a call from anyone in the legislature. I never received a call from Regine Lee, who's the chair of the Federal Affairs Committee. I never received a call from the vice speaker, Talina Nelson. All of them have my number. All of them have me on WhatsApp. None of them have reached out to me.
So Nicholas says he's been available, and this act from the legislative and executive branches is an absence of sincerity.
The bottom line is we have in writing from Treasury and from Interior that the H.R. 1365 that we're moving forward is something they're willing to get behind, and this entire local wild goose chase has nothing in writing from any federal agency. Nothing.
Meanwhile, Bureau Budget and Management Research Director Lester Carlson says it's too early to tell how much will be available to pay out local war claims. But how will GovGuam be repaid?
GovGuam providing the funding, the local funding up front, will only get repaid with the passage of H.R. 1365.
Babalta explains the Department of the Treasury didn't have the authority to expend the money that was being collected from the Department of the Interior. However, only with the passage of St. Nicholas's legislation does the technical flaw become corrected. He also notes that the $750 million is only going to the first batch of adjudicated claims of approximately 750 survivors. However, St. Nicholas says there are several steps that need to clear federally, and it is a legitimate risk if this local measure passes.
I'm so livid of the absence of leadership on the legislature side, on the governor's side, allowing for the chief of staff to take our people down this course. Get it in writing.
Josh Taikenko, PNC News.
And you can listen to Congressman Nicholas's full interview at PacificNewsCenter.com. In other news, the Attorney General's office is going after a pharmaceutical manufacturer on the premise that the company used false advertisement tactics to increase its profitability. The company is called Purdue Pharma LP, and according to the complaint, the Attorney General's office alleges that Purdue misled prescribers and patients about the safety and efficacy of its opioids to increase the company's profits. The complaint describes a deceptive marketing campaign and publications financed by Purdue to push its highly addictive opioids while downplaying the dangers of addiction with long-term use. This comes as AG Levin Camacho says, quote, Guam has an opioid problem, end quote. The complaint identifies OxyContin and alleges that Purdue rebranded the formula as an abuse deterrent and misled the public into believing their opioid drugs were safe to treat pain on a long-term basis, despite a lack of evidence to support the claim, further stating that the company dubbed the term pseudo-addiction through its marketing campaign to mask signs of true opioid addiction. Turning our eye to crime, with trial anticipated to begin in 2 months, kidnapping suspect Brian Kevin Cruz appeared in court on Tuesday. Kidnapping suspect Brian Kevin Cruz sat quietly in court Tuesday morning as legal counsels conferred with Superior Court Judge Vernon Perez at the bench. No new motions have been filed in the case as all parties gear up for trial. While it is not known what transpired at the bench, Superior Court Judge Vernon Perez did indicate that he appreciated the sidebar, citing, quote, "We are keeping this trial date of October 30th at this time," end quote. Further stating, at the same time, Cruz has been held pending trial and will continue to be held based on an assessment that he is a danger to the community, end quote. Cruz is accused of kidnapping a woman known to him, raping her and beating her before releasing her. The next hearing is set for September 26 at 9 a.m. In other court news, the sentencing hearing of the public health worker who pled guilty to official misconduct has been delayed yet again, as the co-actor has yet to resolve her case. In court on Tuesday, Jennifer Tapasio was supposed to be sentenced according to her plea agreement for official misconduct. Tapasio accepted the deal in February, admitting to food stamp fraud. According to the plea agreement, she will not serve any time behind bars. However, the sentencing was delayed as co-defendant Yolanda de Guzman has yet to accept a plea deal with the government. And because Tapasio's agreement is a cooperation deal, this means that if de Guzman goes to trial, Tapasio will be made to testify against her. Tapasio and de Guzman were each indicted on charges of unauthorized use of benefits as a third-degree felony, fraudulent use of public assistance as a third-degree felony, impersonation, identity theft as a third-degree felony, and official misconduct as a misdemeanor. According to the indictment, in 2015, both women knowingly acquired or transferred food stamps in violation of the Federal Food Stamp Act of 1977 in excess of $100. De Guzman is anticipated on entering into a deal with the government on September 24th. Tapasio is scheduled to come back to court on that same day for her sentencing. In more crime news, a jury in the case of the Manila machete attack will be selected on Wednesday out of a pool of 160 potential jurors, as the case has been highly publicized in the media. Superior Court Judge Vernon Perez acknowledges that it could be challenging, but is hopeful that an impartial jury can be formed in one day. 10 days is how much time the trial is anticipated to take in the case involving Emmanuel Rezelap and Jordan Ratchelap, the two young men who were implicated for attacking motorists in Manila earlier this year with a machete. The government intends on calling 20 witnesses and 8 victims to the stand to testify towards the incident. At least 3 witnesses will be called to the stand on Thursday afternoon after both parties make their opening statements. Prosecutor Sean Brown indicated that during trial, photos, videos, and the 911 call will be shared with jurors, who will weigh the evidence before coming to a verdict. In other news, the government of Guam spent $78 million on legal fees and services, as disclosed by the Office of Public Accountability in its latest report. Although certain GovGuam entities require special counsel to handle particular cases, OPA noted that it is more cost-effective to hire in-house attorneys. OPA's analysis of the cost of legal services of government agencies included autonomous and semi-autonomous agencies as well as public corporations. From fiscal year 2013 to 2018, OPA's analysis found that 21 entities paid $32.6 million to contracted legal firms. The top 5 entities included the Guam International Airport Authority, Port Authority of Guam, Guam Memorial Hospital Authority, Department of Public Health and Social Services, and Guam Water Works Authority. In an interview with K57's Phil Leon Guerrero, Public Auditor Benjamin Cruz said the full report shows the difference between contracting private attorneys and hiring in-house legal services.
It really shows that if you can get legal counsel, your own in-house legal counsel, to do your board minutes, to do your civil service commission, and to do, the run-of-the-mill things of your little contracts going in and out of the agency. You see how little some of those agencies spent over the last 6 years, as opposed to agencies that had private legal counsel contracted at $225 an hour.
While each GovGuam entity identifies its needs for legal services, OPA recommended these entities perform a cost-benefit analysis to determine if it is more feasible to employ government attorneys versus contracting for legal services. Well, don't go anywhere. Coming up next on News First, Public Health monitors a suspected case of dengue fever, and Matson welcomes its largest container ship to Guam. Stay with us.